Hi everybody, today is my favorite day is the series we're in right now, and we're now in chapter 2 of the book. Today is my favorite day, and we're talking about, what's in your boat, what wine is in your boat that you have. The bottom line is that all of us react when difficult things come our way, when we have poor health issues, financial problems, struggles with our marriages, whatever the case may be, struggle with kids. We react first, and as we talked about last week, how quickly do we respond? Well, this week we're going to talk about understanding the reaction and also look at some biblical characters of what happens when we do react and we get a little whiny. So the story begins basically with two different types of stories. We looked at the disciples in a boat with Jesus, and we also looked at Thomas. And as we were looking at the guys in the boat, there was a huge storm. And as the storm went on, we saw the guys' reaction in the storm. Also, we saw how Thomas responded. Well, we don't have enough time to do both of them, so what I'll do is I'll focus this week on how the guys responded in the storm, even though Jesus was right in the boat with them. So the idea here is there was a huge storm going on. Jesus is sleeping. The storm gets so bad that it's flooding the boat. And finally, the disciples, it doesn't say who, but runs over, I would imagine probably Peter, running over going, "Oh my goodness, we're going to die. Why are you sleeping here?" And Jesus looks at them and says, "Man, I can't believe you guys. You have me with you. You're safe." And Jesus just says, "Storm stop," and the storm stops. So what happened? What did they do? And what do we normally do when we get hit with something really big? Well, we have three common reactions, and the first one is this, that we gaze at the problem. Don't you do that? I know when I got cancer, I gazed at the cancer. When financial issues, I look at the finances. If I struggle with my marriage, I'm going, "Man, my wife, Tanya, she's not a great wife." I kind of think, don't do that too often, but I do that. When we struggle with the kids, I'm not looking at myself. I'm looking at them and saying, "Where's our problem?" That kind of a thing. So what do? We gaze at the problem and we don't gaze at God. Look at what the guys did in Mark 4:37. It says, "A furious squall came up. The waves broke over the boat so that it was nearly swamped, and they went, 'Oh my gosh, we're going to die.'" The second thing that we do is that we end up going and complaining rather than praying. See, why do we do that? I know I do that. I start complaining about the situation, the person, the problem, and I don't go to God in prayer. And that's really what I need to do is go, "God, I'm struggling with this. I'm reacting now. I'm going to you. I'm talking to you about that." That's what Jehoshaphat did, remember? And the people of Judah did. We talked about that last week. As we prepare for the 6 simple truths and getting ready for that next couple of weeks, we have to get real and not deny that we react poorly at times. And we have to understand what our reactions do and how quickly we can get out of them. So the first is that we gaze at the problem rather than gazing at God. And we complain and get sarcastic and get terse and that stuff instead of praying. Look what the guy said in Mark 4:38. Jesus was in the stern, sleeping on the cushion, and the disciples woke him and said to him, "Teacher, don't you care if we drown?" That sounds like us. We complain, "Jesus, don't you care about me? Don't you care about my finances? Don't you care about my marriage? Don't you care about my kids? Don't you care about me?" And of course he does. He gave his life for us, and we have a tendency to forget that. And the third thing is that we doubt God's power. I've definitely been there. And lately, I found in the last 6 years, I don't stay there too often, too long, to doubt God's power. I believe that God is completely in control. I might whine and complain for maybe an hour at the most, maybe a little bit longer, but that's about it. And I immediately start turning around, praying and gazing at him because I know it doesn't work. Cancer really taught me a lot in that area. And so I'd hope that you guys would look at maybe some of the experiences I've had and we could learn from them. And maybe some of you guys have some great experiences where you went through difficult times and turned it around and start gazing at God, because that's a gigantic thing. So we doubt God's power. Look what the guy said in verse 41 in Mark chapter 4. They were terrified and asked each other, "Who is this?" Now, even the wind and the waves obey him. Okay, so this is what happened. Jesus said, "Storm stop, stop." The storm stops. And this is what they said. I'm going to read it again. "Who is this guy? Who is he?" Even the wind and the waves obey him. So they're still not buying into his power. They're still not getting it. And we do that all the time. And so today and this week, look at the areas where you complain. Look at the areas that you really get focused on, those negative things. And look at if you really truly believe that God has the power to get you through these things. even though life is unmanageable, he can get you through it. Look at those. Don't beat yourself up over it, but look at them and then say, Lord, I want to switch this around. I want to look to what you're doing. And that's what we're going to talk about the rest of this week, is that what God can do in our lives if we are willing to listen and look up. So I want to challenge you this week. Say, today is my favorite day each morning. Give God some thanksgivings. Get your head and mind focused on Christ. And I will guarantee you, no matter what you're going through, you'll be in a better place if you did that rather than if you didn't. All right, guys, we'll see you tomorrow.